Hi, I'm Allison Green, and I'm going to show you how to make drop shadows. So you can see here, if you look at the clocks on the wall, I'm just toggling them on and off so you can see what our goal is. And this is going to be actually a bit of a longer tutorial because I'm also going to show you how to make shadows for these little clocks down here, because these top ones are going to be a little bit easier and these little ones down here are going to be a little bit trickier. And then in my next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use a displacement map to make these bottom shadows look more realistic, because it's one thing to put a shadow on a flat object like a wall. It's another thing to add a shadow to something that has texture like my skirt. So here we go. And this is, just so you can see, this is actually what the final image looks like. So you can see I've added in my little shadows down here. But I'm going to close this out because I'm not going to show you the full process of how I got here, just the shadows. All right, so I'm going to start by turning these off just so you can see how I actually did these. And it's really easy. You go to layer style, drop shadow. The other thing I like to do, because this is kind of a longer path for this one, it's not like right on top, is I just go to help and then I put it in drop and then it just pulls it up for me. So much easier. And let me pull this over so you can see this. So we get this lovely little task box. And you can see I've already got it set to where I need it, basically. But I'm going to show you just a couple different things here. So for starters, my light is coming from over here at this kind of angle. And you'll see that this angle here mimics where the light is coming from. So if I move it around, you can see how it moves the shadows here. So this would be like if the light was coming from down here, then we would put the shadows here. Obviously, that's not where it's coming from in this. So we're going to bring it back up here. I forget what it was at. It was like 24, I think. Whatever. Close enough. So your next option is going to be distance. Like, how far do these shadows come out? This would be if the clocks were really far off the wall. They're not, though. They're just basically sitting on the wall. So you can see the further out I bring them, the further out it makes them look like they're floating off the wall. Since they're right on the wall, we're just going to bring it back to about here. Spread is kind of like how dense the shadow is, maybe, you know? I'm not entirely sure what a good definition of this one is. I usually don't mess with it too much. And then you have size. And to me, the size is almost like the diffusion. So like if my light was really soft, I would make this shadow a lot softer. And you can see how it kind of starts to just get really, really soft. For this one, the light is, pretty harsh. I'm comparing it to some of the shadows here and then here on this wall. So we're going to kind of get this in between. And I think this, this distance might be too much. So we're going to bring that back in. You can also see a preview here. I always forget about this little box. I personally like to just reference the main image because then you really get an idea of how it's going to look, obviously. So then we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to right click, because see how right now this is under here, it's not on a separate layer. We want that on a separate layer. So we're going to right click this. And then we're going to go down to create layer. And now we have this new layer with just our shadow. And the nice thing about this is you can change the opacity if you want. So I might make it a smidge lighter, and I think I like it a little bit better there. And that's it. So easy. So now we're going to get a little trickier, and we're going to make a shadow for this alarm clock. And in this tutorial, I'm only going to show you how to make the shadow. You'll have to check the next tutorial for how to do the displacement map. And the reason I want to call out this one in particular is because we're going to zoom in way more. This is 300%, so this is way more than we should ever be zooming. You can see he's got little legs. And he's got this little handle. And so I just wanted to show I wanted to show an object that's just a little bit more complex than the round circle, just so you can see. And then we're also going to manipulate it a little bit to make it look more realistic. So I've got that layer selected, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my shortcut, which is just to put it in here. And we're going to play around with this a little bit. So we can make that pretty out there. I think that's good. I think we can make this a little bit smaller. And then this I want pretty sharp because his shadow is going to be like right there. And he's in a little bit brighter light than some of the other objects. All right, so we've got that. And obviously that's not right? Like it's not where the shadow would be. I am going to make this a little bit harsher just so you can see a little bit better what's happening. I think for my final, I probably wouldn't make the shadow this hard just because it's not quite right. I'm just doing this for purposes of example so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and do okay. I'm going to go ahead and separate this out to its own layer. Create layer. Hit okay. And now you can see it's on its own layer. So next thing I'm going to do is I am going to do a perspective warp on it so that we can at least get it on the right plane. So I'm going to grab him here. And right now I'm only grabbing that shadow layer. I'm not grabbing anything else. I might even turn off the alarm clock so you can see it a little bit better. Let's see, can I turn that off without? No. Okay. And I'm going to start doing a perspective warp so you can kind of see. We want it really laying down. Now I'm going to zoom in again because I want you to see what's happening. So when I do this, you can see this doesn't make sense. Why would the shadow be way over here? Because now it looks like the alarm clock is floating. So what I need to do is I need to bring it back over and line it up so that the little feet are touching the little feet, because there would be no gap between the shadow and the alarm clock. They would be touching. So this is where it is now. I'm just going to undo that so you can see why I moved it over. I mean, right? This makes it look like the alarm clock is jumping. So we just move it back over so that it's touching. And you can see that's already actually pretty close. There's not going to be a ton that we're going to do. But in the next tutorial, I'll show you a displacement map. And I might actually do it on this other alarm clock just because this has a little bit more texture, so it'll be a little bit more obvious. But at least we can get you to this point in this tutorial, and then you can see my next one for the displacement map for how to get this texture in here.